Alright, it's Sunday, May 8th, the year 2022. My name is John Molden, owner at Blood, Sweat, and Tears Concrete. I'm here with my co-hosts, Magnus and Carly Molden.
Hi.
And this is...
No Crying in Concrete.
Very good, guys. Carly,
Yes.
what is the question we will be answering this week?
Can I get concrete work done in the Arizona summer?
That's right. Can I get work done in the Arizona summer? Can I get our dog to stop barking? That's always a good question, too.
Yep.
So, this is a really frequent question I get from, our potential Tucson customers, especially the ones that have moved here from, Midwestern area of the country. They kind of look at Tucson as a bizarro world, sort of Midwest opposite, because it gets really hot here in the summer and it gets really cold there in the winter. So, their winters concrete work shuts down completely, and a lot of people wonder if we shut down completely in the summertime. Magnus, did you know that Uncle Dude doesn't pour any concrete in the winter time?
No, I didn't.
You didn't know that? You know that, Carly?
Yeah.
Yeah. He he only does the floor coatings in the wintertime. Does that epoxy stuff. In the north, it isn't even a choice for contractors. They have to shut down. They don't just do it because it gets too cold and they don't like to be outside. They actually have to shut down because the ground freezes hard, and as it freezes, it all expands. And if they were to pour concrete over top of that frozen ground, it would look fine until spring, but as soon as the frost came into the ground, it would all settle and crumble. It just wouldn't work at all. But in Tucson, no matter how miserable it gets in the summer, the show must go on. So we work through the whole summer, and I'll be the first to tell you that it can get really challenging sometimes, but we do have a lot of tricks that help us to get it done. So Carly,
Yes.
what is the first trick we have to get the concrete done in the summer?
Starting early.
Yep, simple as that. Starting early. We have to start early in the morning before it gets too hot. Ideally we want to start putting it down in the dark, have it all kind of laid out and ready to go, just to put a finish on it as the sun's coming up. Hey Magnus,
Yes.
do you ever see the guys start after sunrise in the morning?
Yes.
You see them afterwards?
No.
No.
Not usually.
No, they're usually gone out of here before the sun ever comes up, especially in the summertime. In the winter, sometimes it'll be a little later when it's a cold morning or whatever. But for the most part, in the summertime, they're gone by anywhere from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. So if your neighborhood has strict regulations where, say they're telling people they can't do any construction work there until after 8 o'clock or something like that, we will not be able to service your area. We will only be servicing those areas in the early spring, late fall, or during the winter. Carly,
Yes.
what might happen if we start pouring concrete too late in the morning?
Concrete will set too fast to keep up with.
Yep, for sure. That's a big one. And not only that, but we also, risk the health of our people. Once it gets hot and they've got to keep up with that concrete, they run a risk of heat exhaustion or a heat stroke or, anything like that. Now, normally it's not a problem. There's very few neighborhoods in town that we have any trouble with that, because almost every HOA around, even if they're telling other trades to start, later in the day, they'll allow concrete to start at 5 in the morning or so, and we can usually work with that. So where do we get our concrete from, Agnes?
From Oremus.
That's right, Oremus Materials. And the people at Oremus Materials, they do their part to help us with a few more tricks. The mixed designs that Martin comes up with slow down the set and make it possible to keep up. In the morning, Mr. Tom, he does his part and makes sure that the load is mixed with really chilled ice cold water to assure the workability when it's delivered. And also, the trucks we have down here in Arizona have a pretty cool feature. They have like these misters mounted on the outside of the drums, and they spray water on the drum as it's being delivered to keep that steel from getting hot and transferring all that heat into the load. You guys ever seen that before?
Yeah, I really saw it on the truck.
I bet you'll be looking now, won't you?
Yeah.
Next time you see one, you'll have to notice that. So Carly, what's one trick the contractors have up their sleeves to help it set?
Adding retarder.
Very good. Yes. And we've talked about that before, haven't we? Yeah. Yeah, we do talk about the same thing quite often, but if it keeps on coming up, it keeps on being important. So,
we got a comment from somebody that says, "Thank you for your wonderful work on our backyard project. For our swim spa, we are enjoying it right now." That is from Cynthia.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that, Cynthia. And thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad they got that in there. So, yeah, the retarder, we use a retarder called Yukon DS, and it's really a lifesaver. Especially when it gets hot like that, when we just need some extra time to get all the joints in the concrete and get everything laid out before it starts setting up. We'll put an hour or two of the retarder in there to make everything workable. And then the big thing with that Yukon DS compared to the old retarders we use, they always seem to like snap off. It's like they would stop the set for so long, and then all of a sudden, bang, they would just get hard. And it made it really tough to work with. But the Yukon DS is a really good one. It seems to set nice and slowly and easily. The other trick that we use when it gets really hot out is we put up to 20 to 40 pounds of ice per yard of, ice, in order to keep it from getting away from us. It kind of tricks it into thinking it's cooler. Magnus, have you ever noticed the guys spraying water on the ground right before the pour?
Yes.
Yeah, when they were pouring the concrete out here, they did that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yep. So that may be one of the most important things we do. We always try to spray the ground the night before if we can, but for sure we start spraying it at least really early in the morning and get a good wet base. And what that does is, as the concrete goes down, it keeps it from taking that ground from just sucking the moisture out and causing too rapid of a drying. Carly, do you think we have more finishers working in the winter time or in the summertime?
The summertime.
Yeah, we do. We bring more people to finish the concrete in the summer. A finisher, just really can't cover the same amount of ground. It may be, probably somewhere around half as much. From the coolest part of the winter to the hottest part of the summer, I bet it's probably half easily. So we have to have more manpower on hand. So Magnus, have you ever seen the guys set up pop-ups and work underneath them?
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Carly? Have you seen that?
Yeah, we used a pop-up to plant our flowers over there, and then we'll be using them this summer for football and cheer.
That's correct, yeah. We will be doing that as well. So we have a couple of pop-up shaders that we use, and we have one that will completely cover smaller projects, and then we have another one that's smaller that we can just kind of move around where we need it. But it really helps, you know, just to put that shade on there and give the guys a little bit extra time and keep them from, you know, overheating. And a couple years ago, we had like a, heck, it's probably been a few years, maybe 4 years, 5 years now, who knows, take it away. We had an addition in the back of a house, and it was a colored concrete addition. It was going to be finished floor. And what we ended up doing there is we ended up tying into the rafters. They were already all exposed, running 2x4s across the whole top and down, and building a structure over top of the whole addition. And then we covered the whole thing with shade cloth. That was, I don't know, I can't remember which year it was, but it was one of the hottest years I can remember. It was really close to 115 degrees for a little while there. And we were doing stuff like that all the time just to try and make it manageable, you know. And it worked really well. I mean, that thing turned out super beautiful.
Yep.
So, Carly.
Yes.
What is the main thing the door hangers let people know in the summertime?
We start early and make a lot of noise.
That's right. We start early and we make a lot of noise. And, you know, the door hangers let people know a couple other things as well, but that's the main one they need to know in the summertime, is that we are probably going to be waking up at some point, and please forgive us. So if the early morning wake up is not your thing, please just wait till winter, fall, or spring. Right?
Yes.
So, do we have any questions coming yet this week?
Tammy wants to know, is it possible to water the ground too much?
It could be, yeah. I remember a few years back, we had asked the homeowner to water the ground for us the night before. And he got a little carried away. And when we got there, it was super duper muddy. And when we poured it, the only issue we had was that, you know, it was a little slippery, it was muddy for working in there. But the grade wasn't dropping out. The bottom wasn't dropping out or anything, so it wasn't too bad. But we were able to pour it, get it all bull floated and laid down, and there was more bleed water than normal. But it didn't hurt anything in the end. We came back and added onto that driveway later on, and it looked really nice still. So you could put too much in there to where you actually, you know, soften up the grade and cause problems. So we normally don't leave it up to the homeowner to do that, especially since then. But sometimes we'll ask them to throw a little bit of water on the night before if we're not going to be there. But usually the guys do it before they leave the day before, and then they do it again in the morning.
What is bleed water?
So concrete always bleeds some water when you put it down, you bull float it. So much water is going to bleed to the surface and then evaporate off. You know, whatever's not used in the hydration process. And you know, we kind of play the bleed water in Arizona, where we'll get everything sealed up part way with the bull float, and then just as the bleed water's coming up, we'll put a final pass on it, so that we're not diluting the top, but we use it to our advantage. We're like up north in the Midwest and stuff, they have to try and get everything bull floated before the bleed starts, and then stay off of it completely until the bleed is all completely done. You guys know that? No, you do, right?
Yeah. Now
you guys are going to be experts in concrete by the time you...
What temperature, if any, is it too hot to pour concrete?
You know, if there is one, I mean, we would never start pouring, you know, in mid-morning when it's over 100 degrees. there's companies that do that. We would never do it, you know. I don't know that there's a time when it would be, you know, if you had enough manpower on it, you couldn't make it work. But like I say, we cover things with pop-ups and shade cloth and everything. We try to just be as diligent as we can with kind of being overly careful and, you know, overly cautious. Put it that way. But I guess if you find people crazy enough to work on it, you could work on it as hot as you want to. You know, I mean, as hot as it gets here. Because I've seen them trucks rolling out when it's 110 degrees, and somebody's putting it somewhere. So, wouldn't be us.
No.
That's it for questions on this end.
Okay.
No.
Are Mom and Paul on there with us yet?
I saw that Grandpa was watching it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hey, Grandpa,
Hi, Grandpa.
says, Paul says, hold on, he's got something on here. Let's see. Is the summertime, in the summertime, do you start very early?
We do. We like to, you know, get the mud going on the ground at least by 4 o'clock in the morning when it gets hot. And we'll pour earlier than that if we can, or if we have to. You know, that's why I say we kind of got to play it by the neighborhood. You know, most places we're going to be trying to have mud ordered 4:30, and you know, I guess it depends on what time you call early. I think Paul's usually up by 3, so no, not for you, Paul.
Hey, Cynthia said, great crews. They were always so professional and nice. We asked for a small project change during our project, and you accommodated us. You calculated the cost and were able to have it done.
Here, why don't you
All
grab
right.
the other phone here, honey? That one's wiggling around quite a bit.
You were able to have it done at the same time. No problem. Hope we can get our driveway done in the future. My husband and I love BS&T.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the kind words.
Thank you.
Here, you want to take this other phone, honey? I got phones everywhere.
You got a phone. You got a
Okay,
phone.
let's see. Tammy, the risk of pouring when it's too hot affects the integrity of the concrete.
You know, it's gonna be flash setting more so. You know, that's when you really have to have everything dialed in. You gotta make sure your crew knows all the right answers to the questions of how to pour hot weather concrete. And it starts with that wet base. It goes to getting it sealed up quickly. It goes to having enough people there to get the finish on it. And then the big one, when it's hot, and especially if it starts getting a little breezy, is to get that cure on top of it right away. Because if you put a cure and seal over the top of the concrete, you know, just as you're getting done finishing, it kind of holds that moisture that's escaping from the concrete right at the surface. And that keeps it from drying out and cracking, you know. So you definitely run a bigger risk of having, you know, trouble with your concrete if you know, in the hot weather. But it doesn't necessarily mean that for sure. You just got to make sure you're doing it right at that point.
So Paul says, so you can pour before daylight.
Oh yeah, we do a lot. Yeah, we like I say, we like to have everything down and kind of laid out so that as the sun's coming up, you know, you're just putting a finish on it, you know. And I mean, obviously it depends on what time of year. Through the winter, we normally start pouring real close to daylight, in the daylight, because the temperatures are that we can handle it. What we're talking about here is summertime temperatures. the very hottest of the year, and we're going to try and be pouring by 4:30 in the morning.
Cynthia said they poured at 5 a.m. and my window was right by the project. I didn't even wake up.
There you go. Quiet. The guys were quiet. Sneak attack. It's like the special forces.
Respectful of our clients.
It's like special ops.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. Well, I guess we could sign it off and do our Mother's Day dinner now.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody, for taking the time to watch again this week. We will be back next Sunday from the Backyard Kitchen answering questions you didn't know you needed to ask about concrete. Remember, there's no crying in concrete other than
The tears of joy brought about by a job well done.
very good. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.